Yeah, we got blue skies up there. The fronts seem to have passed. The wind's coming out of the northeast, and we're looking good. I'm just getting some breakfast ready and gonna try to sail off the anchor if I can. I don't know if I'll be able to dodge this little point here, but we'll see how we go. Give it a go. Save starting the motor, then you don't have to keep the thing running for a while. We're up. No easy task against the wind. We're away. No motor. No motor used anyway. We got a motor, just didn't want to use it. And about 5.5 knots. Going good, but the wind's a bit cooler than I thought once I've got out here. Jacket and pants on. Still in May, so summer's still a long way away, really. A lot of shallow water out there, so I've had to take a big wide berth. Just jibed in now, and I checked the tide. It looks like the tide's running in, so if this wind holds with the tide as well, should do pretty well. Get up there in no time. We're still going in pretty good. There's still a bit of breeze. It's probably hard to tell, but with the incoming tide, the water comes into these inlets. The water that's already in there quite often has to go somewhere, so you'll get kind of two currents happening. So it's hard to tell probably, but there's quite a strong current going out on this side. But I've just edged across out of that, and I'm going in on the current on this side. Basically the whole inlet's like a big whirlpool. On a dropping tide, maybe it goes the other way. There's always a current somewhere. Not so easy to find when you're not using a motor, but I've managed to cut across and get onto this one pretty good. Unfortunately, there's a few buildings around in here as well, so it's not exactly isolated wilderness. But hopefully once I get up the end close to the river, fingers crossed there's no cabins around and maybe it's just been left untouched. I'll believe it when I see it, but can always live in hope, I guess. Well, I was wondering where the front was. Here it is, in all its glory. 990, not very big, but big enough. It didn't quite get to where I was going. Thought I was playing the tides right, but as it turns out, I've kind of had to turn tail a little bit. And it's about an hour and a half to go, and I hope to finally get into the inlet that I was heading for. Yeah, the front's really come in full and strong right now. Still in fairly sheltered water, luckily. But yeah, I don't want to risk a sail. I think it's too strong. Don't want to break something out here. Whew. Just about ready to make a turn. Been going straight into it for a while now and banging the crap out of the boat. Get side onto it a bit, it'll be a bit easier. Should be clean run into the shelter then, if you can hear my voice. The boat's definitely not doing 20,000 RPM at the moment. It's pretty close to 30,000, which is recommended, so it's good to know that you can do it. Well, got out of the worst of it. Nice and calm in here now. Bit less wind too. And rain. Pretty cold though. Pretty wet too. Gonna edge in here to the right. Try to get out of what seems to be a sort of a east-southeasterly. Comes off these fronts at the moment. It was blowing northerly this morning. Now it's kind of east-southeast and miserable. But I hold hope for the next couple of days. Got a feeling it should clear up. This could be the worst of it. Tomorrow maybe not so good, and then the next day should be okay. Then the day after that, which is Wednesday, I plan to head back to Kodiak and grab my post, do a few things around town, and get going, hopefully after a maximum of 2 or 3 days there. Hopefully these kind of storm fronts are few and far between. Well, calm water, out of the wind made it. All that effort to get in here, to get away, to get to a nice river. You go through all that effort, you get in here. There's a cabin here. There's 2 cabins over there. Don't you love it? Alaskan wilderness. Come to Kodiak for Alaskan wilderness. Yeah, right. There's cabins everywhere. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. We're gonna have to sail a fair way away, I think, because there is very little wilderness where I'm getting to at the moment. You know, bust your ass, you go to all the effort and you get there and there's blooming buildings everywhere. Buildings in, you know, what could be nice untouched wilderness, but instead people want to have their little slice of civilization in the wilderness. I bust my ass to get out here and there's none there. There's cabins everywhere. Unbelievable. Anyway, maybe I'm just selfish. Disappointing though, I tell you. It's disappointing. Well, still drying out here today. It's a little bit overcast and windy, and I'm probably not going to go outside, or at least not go ashore anyway. I've just been doing some writing and editing of footage and stuff like that. But I also just solved my windlass problem. Now, pretty stupid. I've been looking at the wires and I'm thinking, how could I, the last thing I did on the boat was pull the anchor, go ashore and get lifted out, and the windlass worked. And I'm thinking, you know, how can the winter mess up wiring? But with water and everything, it is possible for fuses and things like that to get blown, circuits to get tripped, etc. And that's, I was just looking in the spares of the one that I replaced the windlass because the motor burnt out a couple of years ago, and I saw a circuit breaker just like this guy in with the new pack. Now, I had no idea what this circuit breaker was for, you know. Second-hand boat, it's never been a problem. I'm just, oh yeah, there's a circuit breaker there. Had no idea what it was for. Didn't think it'd be for the windlass, you know. It's a pretty big, important looking sort of thing, and I just thought it must be for the motor or some such. But then I looked at the spare parts and I'm like, hang about, there's one of these over on the control panel. Went over and yeah, circuit board had been tripped. Simple. So I flicked it back up. Little thing that goes back up in there, it had been flicked down. Pushed it back up, just like you would in your fuse box at your house, and went out, checked the windlass, and what do you know, it's alive. So it saved me a lot of work, and yeah, Bob's your uncle. I've actually not needed it so far. Even in the really windy, strong current yesterday, I still managed to get the anchor up okay. A little bit of motor, and yeah, get it off the bottom, and away you go. Which is good for sailing on and off the anchor. It's good to know I can do that if this claps out. But at least now I know where to look first. Straight to the fuse or circuit board. Yeah. Easy as that. Straight to the circuit breaker and make sure it hasn't been tripped. Bob's your uncle. Live and learn, hey? I'm just about after, what is this? This is my 4th year, so nearly 5 years. And yeah, I'm getting close to knowing most of what I really need to know. So yeah, Pretty stoked about that. That's good. Just listening to the weather report. Doesn't sound very good for tomorrow either. And even the next day, not so great, but less wind, 10 knots and small seas, so it should be okay to head back Wednesday. Like to go ashore tomorrow, but this morning in the light, I've now seen that there's there's 2 or 3 other cabins in this area. So to be totally honest, I'm not that interested in going ashore, and not overly interested in the river because there's probably cabins up there as well, and that's not what I'm about. I don't want to go sail out in the middle of nowhere and hang out in front of cabins. Just not my thing. Anyway, yeah, we've had a win, so I'm pretty stoked. Otter with its baby out here at the moment, with its, I don't know what they're called, small otters, pup maybe. Just gonna duck. It's just gone about 9 o'clock. I've just had dinner, still a bit of light for a number of hours yet. Gonna go have a look up the river. The tide's coming in. Windy and wet yesterday, pretty windy, a little bit wet today. Finally cleared up a little bit. I'm heading off tomorrow, so I guess I better go have a look at the river that I came to look at. So just gonna putt up and see what's around. See if there's cabins up there as well. Hopefully not, or at least see why all the cabins are in this area. I'm guessing when the salmon are running, there's probably a few fish around, but being mid-May, there's probably not too much around just yet. We'll see, you never know. Maybe there is a king or two. Probably can't see, but there's a commercial salmon regulatory marker on the tree just back there. It's a long way into this river for there to be a marker like that. Normally they're way out in the inlet. That's a little bit strange. I wouldn't have thought boats were allowed this far up, but maybe they are. There's also a lot of no trespassing signs, because it looks like this is a Fagnock Island native people's land or some such, and you need a permit to go on it, which is always good, I reckon. I like that that's at least one way to stop cabins getting built. You know, the native people can keep their land undeveloped, so to speak. That's a good thing, in my view. Because otherwise there just seems to be cabins everywhere. It's going to be interesting to see, the further I get away from Kodiak, just how far I have to go before the cabins stop. You know, is it a runabout boat, petrol tank full sort of thing? Is that the limit to how far people are willing to build their cabins and get away for the weekends, etc.? Or do I have to go 100 nautical miles? I don't come all this way to see cabins, as you've probably gathered already. Anyway, it's nice up here. There's no cabins. They're pretty eager on their signs. Signs all over the place. I don't know if you can read that, but that's a freshwater marker. There's one over the other side. So this must be the extent of the high tide into the estuary. And snagging is permitted upstream from here. So there's quite a big lake on this river, so I'm guessing sockeye again, but maybe people are allowed to snag any species of the 5 Pacific salmon. So upstream from this sign here, get your treble hooks out and snag away. How great. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Beautiful. Just keeps going and going. The other thing that I'm surprised not to see, well, I'm not actually surprised because it's been that way ever since I left Vancouver, Canada. There's, you know, I'm into the freshwater part of the river here. I saw one little fingerling of some kind break the surface just a second ago. But apart from that, you know, I'm basically motoring up what should be a trout river. There should be trout living here year round, and this time of year there definitely should be bigger trout chasing the little fingerlings like the one I just saw as they start coming out of the river for the summer. The little salmon fingerling, geez, the little dolly varden and rainbow trout fingerlings. And the water's so clear, I can see everything. I haven't spooked a single trout, not one. Why? Why? It just doesn't make any sense. Pretty good looking water here. I'm gonna have a fish. Let's see if there's fish here at all. Looks good. Looks perfect, in fact. It's got an old pink fly from the salmon on from last year, and it's going to have a go with that. If there's any dollies or rainbows around, which is what I'm hoping for, I should take it. Nothing. Not even a touch. Not a sign of fish. So where are they? There's little fingerlings around. There's a couple of little salmon fingerlings around. Are the trout still up in the lake? Or are they just not here? You know, are they just so few that they're just not here? We're too close to civilization. Too many cabins. No fish. Could be. Anyway, yeah. Come a long way upstream, haven't seen a single fish worth catching. Nothing. 2 miles I've probably covered. And this water here looks as good as it gets. This is what I'm talking about. Hundreds of rivers I've fished from Washington State through British Columbia up to here. BC I found a few fish. But in the coastal rivers of southeast Alaska, nothing. There is no trout in the rivers I've fished, and I've fished hundreds of them. When I say there's none, I lie. I've caught 2 dolly varden. 2. You know? It's a lot of rivers. And, you know, they're not the hardest fish to catch. If there's dolly varden or rainbow trout here and you chuck a pink fly out, they hit it, you know, they take it. So yeah, something's not right. Anyway, back to the boat, back to Kodiak tomorrow. back to the calm waters of Kodiak Harbour. Hopefully get my stuff here in a day or so and get away. We'll find some proper isolated water hopefully in the months ahead. Get away from the cabins. And I mean, Kodiak Island's a big island. It's nearly 80 nautical miles long, but there's a lot of civilization on it, so to speak. There's little villages, cabins, holiday homes, you name it, weekend homes. Yeah, there's a lot of isolated spots too on the western side, but I'm going to get over to the peninsula, the Alaska Peninsula, and really try to get away from the towns as best I can over the months ahead, and hopefully find some good isolated water for fishing and maybe surfing too, hopefully. See how it goes. Hope you enjoyed the clip. We'll see you in the next one.